I thought I was here for a simple car repair, but when the mechanic leaned in close and whispered in my ear, the only engine revving was mine. My day had started like any other. Breakfast, shower, and off to work. But that strange rattling sound from under my hood changed everything. What would you do if your simple car repair turned into something much more unexpected? Let us know in the comments. Your support helps the video reach more people, and we truly appreciate it. Now let's get back to the story. Little did I know, a routine stop at the auto shop would lead to something I'd never anticipated, turning a mundane morning into an unforgettable encounter. By the time I pulled into Brian's auto shop at the edge of town, the noise had grown louder, nearly drowning out my radio. I'd heard plenty about Brian. Honest mechanic, fair prices, and someone who made his customers feel at ease, but I'd never actually met him. Stepping into the shop, I was instantly greeted by the scent of motor oil and the gentle buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. Brian stood behind the counter, his muscular frame evident even beneath his grease-stained coveralls, and his salt and pepper hair neatly styled despite his profession. When our eyes met, he flashed a welcoming smile that held me captive a bit longer than necessary. "Hey, I'm Brian." He introduced himself warmly, offering a handshake. His strong, reassuring grip sent an unexpected jolt through my body. "Tom," I replied softly, suddenly very aware of my racing heart. "My car started making this awful noise. Sounds serious." Brian chuckled, stepping around the counter and guiding me back outside toward my vehicle. As he opened the hood, I watched him closely, captivated by his confidence and the way his muscles flexed gently beneath his sleeves while he examined the engine. A moment later, he stood straight and wiped his hands casually with a cloth. "You're in luck, Tom. It's just a loose belt," he said reassuringly. "Easy fix. Won't take long." The way he looked at me after speaking felt intentional, his gaze lingering just enough to spark curiosity. He paused, glancing briefly around the quiet shop before leaning slightly closer, his voice lowering to an inviting murmur. "Since it's quiet today, why don't you come wait in the back room? There's fresh coffee. Makes the wait easier." I nodded, feeling my pulse quicken at the intimacy of his suggestion. Following him into the small back room filled with neatly stacked toolboxes and spare parts, the air grew charged with anticipation. Brian poured 2 cups of coffee, handing one to me, his fingers brushing mine gently, sending sparks dancing across my skin. "Tom," Brian whispered softly after a moment, stepping closer until there was barely any space between us. "I felt something since the moment you walked in." My heart pounded loudly as I met his gaze. Gathering courage, I softly replied, "You're not the only one." Brian smiled, his dark eyes warming as he reached up, gently touching my cheek. Slowly, he leaned in until our lips met, tenderly at first, then deepening into a passionate kiss that erased any remaining doubt. As his strong arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me close, the worries about my car vanished completely, replaced by the thrilling realization that today's repairs involved more than just machinery. As Brian's lips moved softly against mine, the entire world beyond that small, hidden back room disappeared completely, leaving only the warmth of our bodies and the thrilling anticipation that surged between us. His strong hands gently held my waist, pulling me closer, and I felt my pulse quicken even more. I'd come here for a simple repair, but now it was clear. Brian intended to fix something entirely different, something deep inside me I hadn't known was broken. The kiss intensified, our breaths mingling as his fingers traced tenderly along my spine, causing a shiver of excitement to ripple through my body. My own hands found their way to his muscular chest, exploring carefully at first, then more boldly as I felt his heartbeat thudding beneath my fingertips. Every touch, every caress, seemed to push us both closer to a boundary we hadn't yet crossed, but both of us clearly wanted to. "Tom," Brian whispered huskily against my ear, his warm breath sending chills down my neck. "You have no idea how badly I've wanted this since you walked into my shop." His words fueled the fire burning within me. Slowly, deliberately, I pressed closer, allowing our bodies to fit perfectly together. He responded eagerly, hands gripping my hips firmly as if afraid I might disappear. His eyes, filled with desire, met mine as he carefully guided us back toward an old leather sofa positioned against the far wall. He eased me down onto the soft surface, leaning above me, the weight of his strong body comforting yet exhilarating. Brian's hands slid beneath my shirt, fingertips teasingly tracing my bare skin as our mouths met again, deeper, more passionately than before. His kisses moved gradually along my jawline, then down my throat, igniting each nerve ending along their path. "Are you sure about this?" Brian asked quietly, his voice filled with gentle concern even amid the intensity of the moment, pausing to look deeply into my eyes, searching for any hesitation. I reached up, cupping his face tenderly, reassuringly. "Yes, Brian," I whispered sincerely. "I've never been surer of anything." A slow, relieved smile crossed his face, and he leaned in again, capturing my lips softly. With deliberate tenderness, he removed my shirt, eyes roaming appreciatively over me, the warmth in his gaze causing my heart to pound fiercely. I mirrored his actions, carefully unbuttoning his coveralls until his strong, toned body was fully exposed, bathed softly in the faint overhead light. The sight took my breath away. Our touches grew more daring, more intense, each caress building upon the last. The air between us seemed charged with electricity as Brian's lips and hands moved, gently yet insistently, exploring every inch of exposed skin, leaving trails of warmth and anticipation in their wake. "God, you're beautiful," Brian murmured softly against my chest, his voice husky with desire as his fingers traced gentle patterns along my ribs. I gasped softly, arching beneath him as each touch heightened my longing. He moved slowly upward, meeting my eyes again, his gaze serious and warm. "Tom, I didn't expect this today, but now, I can't imagine not having this moment with you." Smiling warmly, I guided his face back to mine, our mouths merging again, soft and passionate. Together, we surrendered fully to the heat and intimacy we'd created in that small back room, allowing our bodies to guide us toward a deeper connection neither of us had anticipated when I first walked into Brian's auto shop. As we lay side by side on the worn leather sofa in the quiet solitude of the back room, our bodies still tangled comfortably, Brian traced gentle circles along my shoulder. His touch was slow and soothing, offering comfort in the calm aftermath of our passionate encounter. I found myself reflecting on how surreal this day had become. I had walked into this auto shop expecting a quick fix, but ended up experiencing something far deeper. "I've got to admit, Tom," Brian whispered softly, a gentle smile gracing his lips as he met my eyes. "When you walked in this morning, the last thing I expected was for us to end up here." "Believe me?" I replied with a soft chuckle, feeling warmth rising in my cheeks. "This definitely wasn't how I pictured my morning going either, but I'm glad it did." He gently brushed a strand of hair from my forehead, the tenderness of his gesture filling my chest with an unexpected swell of emotion. His dark eyes studied me thoughtfully for a moment before he spoke again, voice softer now, almost hesitant. "You know, I've been running this shop for over a decade, and I've never felt this kind of spark with anyone who walked through that door, until today." His confession felt genuine, filled with a vulnerable honesty that tugged at my heart. I reached for his hand, interlacing our fingers slowly, feeling the warmth of his touch grounding me. "I felt it too," I admitted, my voice quiet yet confident. "Maybe it's crazy, Brian, but this feels different, like we were supposed to meet." Brian smiled warmly, gently bringing my hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss against my knuckles. "It's not crazy," he reassured softly, his eyes holding mine tenderly. "Maybe some things really do happen for a reason." We fell into a comfortable silence, basking in the intimate connection we'd formed, neither eager to disturb the gentle peace between us. Eventually, Brian shifted slightly, lifting himself onto one elbow to look directly into my eyes, his expression now more serious. "Look, Tom," he began quietly, his thumb gently brushing across my cheek. I don't want this to be just a one-time thing. If you're open to it, I'd like to see you again, outside of this garage. His openness caught me pleasantly by surprise, stirring feelings within me that had long remained dormant. A smile spread across my face without hesitation. I'd really like that too, Brian. Relief visibly washed over his features, softening the tension in his shoulders. He leaned down, placing another slow, tender kiss upon my lips, reaffirming the sincerity of our newfound connection. As the kiss ended, he lingered close, forehead resting lightly against mine, his breath warm against my skin. Good? Brian murmured softly, a slight grin forming on his lips. Because I have a feeling that whatever started here is just the beginning. We lay together quietly a little longer, savoring the newfound closeness and warmth between us, both aware of how profoundly the morning had changed. Eventually, Brian shifted reluctantly, sitting up slowly, a playful glint returning to his eyes. Unfortunately, though, he chuckled softly, glancing at the clock on the wall. Your car isn't going to fix itself. Laughing, I sat up beside him, pulling my shirt back on, though reluctant to end our intimate escape. Well, I guess I'll just have to trust you to take care of things from here. Brian reached out again, squeezing my hand gently, his expression warm and reassuring. Don't worry, Tom. I'll take very good care of it. And you. As we stood together, preparing to return to the front of the shop, I felt a genuine sense of excitement for what lay ahead. The morning's unexpected turn had ignited more than just sparks between us. It had ignited possibilities neither of us had anticipated. Stepping back into the main area of the garage felt like crossing between two entirely different worlds. The private intimacy we just shared contrasted sharply with the cool, impersonal surroundings of the workspace. Brian squeezed my hand gently one final time before releasing it, smiling warmly as he picked up his tools to finally tackle the repair that had brought me here in the first place. As Brian worked beneath the hood, I leaned against the wall nearby, stealing glances at him and marveling at how easily he'd shifted from passionate lover to focused mechanic. Each confident movement he made reminded me of the gentle strength he displayed moments ago in the back room, causing my pulse to quicken again, warmth rising gently into my face. Can't concentrate with you staring at me like that, Tom? Brian teased lightly without turning around, clearly sensing my eyes on him. Sorry? I laughed quietly, feeling slightly embarrassed but undeniably pleased he'd noticed. It's just hard to separate mechanic Brian from the Brian I was with a few minutes ago. He paused, wiping his hands on a rag before turning toward me, a playful gleam in his eyes. Well, maybe you don't have to separate the two completely, he suggested, stepping closer, lowering his voice mischievously. Maybe I can be both. I chuckled softly, feeling my face flush again, thrilled by his flirtation. But before either of us could say more, the sudden ringing of Brian's phone interrupted the moment. His smile faded slightly as he glanced at the caller ID, a faint tension replacing the warmth in his expression. Sorry, Tom, I need to take this quickly, Brian murmured apologetically, stepping away and answering the call with a quieter voice. I turned my attention elsewhere, attempting to give him privacy, though I couldn't help overhearing snippets of the conversation, enough to sense Brian's demeanor shifting from relaxed to unsettled. When Brian hung up, his mood had clearly changed, worry creasing his forehead. He returned to the car silently, working briefly without speaking, but I could feel the shift in his energy, the earlier ease between us now clouded by something he clearly hesitated to discuss. Eventually, unable to ignore it, I gently approached him, placing a cautious hand on his shoulder. Everything okay, Brian? He paused, releasing a slow sigh, then reluctantly turned to face me, a conflicted expression in his eyes. That was my ex-partner, he admitted quietly. We've been separated for nearly a year, but sometimes he still calls. He's struggling to accept it's really over. I felt a sudden pang of uncertainty, surprised by the admission but appreciating his honesty. Are you sure you're ready to move on, Brian? Maybe us is too complicated right now. He quickly shook his head, stepping forward again to grasp my hand reassuringly, urgency in his voice. "No, Tom, please don't think that. My past is complicated. Sure, but what we shared today felt real. Something I haven't felt in a very long time." I studied his expression, seeing sincerity and vulnerability in his eyes, which eased the sudden worry I'd felt moments before. Still, the unexpected reality of his complicated life had shaken our newfound comfort, leaving us both aware of the fragile balance we'd been navigating since I entered the shop this morning. "I want to trust that," I said carefully, squeezing his hand gently. "But I need to know you're truly ready. I don't want to get hurt, Brian." His gaze softened further, a quiet determination forming in his eyes as he nodded slowly. "Tom, I understand. Believe me, I wasn't looking for anything today. But something changed when you walked through my door, and I don't want to lose this." A silence settled between us, heavy with meaning, as we stood face to face, the gravity of our unexpected connection undeniable. Brian stepped closer once more, brushing a gentle thumb across my cheek, quietly reassuring me with his touch. "Give me a chance," he whispered earnestly. "I promise, no more secrets, no complications. Just you and me." The sincerity in his voice melted away my hesitation, replacing uncertainty with hope. I nodded, my heart choosing to trust him despite the risks. "Okay, Brian," I finally agreed softly. "You have your chance." A relieved smile illuminated his face as he pulled me into a tight embrace, holding me as if he feared letting go would mean losing me entirely. Yet even as we stood wrapped in each other's arms, I felt the lingering tension beneath our newfound closeness. Something had shifted in our relationship, pushing us toward a deeper, riskier path. One filled with promise but also uncertainty. We both knew this was no longer just a simple connection sparked in a back room. It had become something much deeper, and how we navigated it from here would change everything. Over the next few days, Brian and I spent as much time together as possible, sharing quiet dinners, long conversations, and gentle touches that deepened the bond we'd formed at the auto shop. Yet despite the ease we felt together, an unspoken tension lingered. Brian's past relationship remained unresolved, casting subtle shadows over our newfound happiness. One evening, as we relaxed on his living room couch, Brian gently squeezed my hand and spoke hesitantly. "Tom, I want you to know I talked to my ex today. I told him clearly that I've moved on, that my future is with you." I studied his face carefully, relieved yet still cautious. "And how did he take it?" Brian sighed softly, frustration evident. "Not great. He's struggling, but he'll accept it eventually. I just need you to trust me." His earnest gaze calmed my lingering doubts, and I leaned in to gently kiss him, reassuring him silently of my trust. Brian's arms tightened around me, the warmth and sincerity of his embrace melting away the tension that had built up between us. But later that night, when Brian had fallen asleep beside me, I lay awake, troubled by the uncertainty that still lingered. I knew our relationship had grown serious quickly, maybe too quickly, but I wanted desperately to believe we could overcome whatever lay ahead. Still, the quiet fear of heartbreak loomed, refusing to be ignored. A week later, I found myself once again walking into Brian's auto shop, this time without any car troubles, just a racing heart and a hopeful smile. Brian glanced up from beneath the hood of another customer's car, his face brightening instantly at the sight of me. "Hey, Tom," he greeted warmly, stepping forward to meet me, his eyes shining with genuine happiness. "I didn't expect to see you here today." I smiled, reaching out to gently take his hand in mine. "I just missed you," I confessed softly, "and maybe I wanted to remind myself where everything started." He chuckled, pulling me closer for a gentle kiss that felt like a promise. "I'm glad you did. It reminds me how lucky we are." There was something comforting about standing in the very spot where our unexpected journey began, where a noisy engine had sparked a connection neither of us anticipated. Brian squeezed my hand softly, his voice becoming serious yet tender. "I know things moved quickly between us, Tom, and I know there might still be challenges," he admitted openly. eyes filled with sincerity. "But I want this, I want us. More than anything." I looked into his eyes, feeling a deep sense of trust settling firmly in my chest. "I want this too, Brian," I assured him warmly. "No matter what comes next." He smiled, leaning in to kiss me again, sealing our promise with warmth and tenderness. In that moment, all the doubts, fears, and uncertainties faded completely, replaced by a powerful sense of hope and excitement for the future we'd begun to build. As Brian returned to his work, he flashed one final smile in my direction, his eyes bright with the kind of confidence and warmth that had first drawn me to him. Standing there, watching him, I realized with absolute certainty that the car wasn't the only thing that got serviced the day I walked into Brian's shop. It was my heart too.